The Jesus People movement has had a profound impact, as we've seen on the videos and as we've heard in the material, not only on our world, but in the recesses of our own hearts. The aftershocks of that movement can still be felt today. It represented a time where God was doing something extraordinary. In reading and reflecting, I was just eating it up, thinking about this moment that I would come and share with you guys. I didn't want to just read, I wanted to experience. I didn't want to just learn and reflect. I wanted to anchor it in the now. And I don't know what it was about Jesus People and the music and all of these things, but I had this question. I wanted to know, God, are you up to something like this now? So I fell asleep and I had a dream. You guys want to hear about the dream? I went into a time machine. And the 1960s and 1970s was my destination. And I was just enraptured because I wanted to feel what it was like. And that was my heart cry when I was reading and watching and absorbing. So I'm in this dream and it feels amazing to see the people. I went to the beginning. I wanted to understand from a different perspective. My curiosity and imagination was running wild. And in the 1960s, I'm there in my mind, in my dream, and there is social unrest, political unrest. There were wars and protests and assassinations happening and systemic racism. Social justice was key. People were using LSD, and I really wanted to know what that felt like, Am I the only one? Okay, never mind. And I was like, what is that like? And I could just sense and feel the atmosphere of that moment. The mounting pressures were all around. It kind of felt like today. And eventually in my dream, people started to die from the drugs and everything that was happening. And it just was like seas of people. And they were empty, feeling void and hopeless. And for some reason, they were more aware of the gaping hole in their soul. I could feel tangibly the depravity of that moment. There were many people looking for meaning. They were searching for connection and belonging and full of energy and wanted something to rally around. And I don't know how, blame my imagination, but somehow I ended up in Southern California in the back of Calvary Chapel. And I'm looking and I'm learning and listening and seeing this man talk about Jesus and what it was doing to the people. Fascinating. Reminded me of when I got saved. The freedom that I felt, being accepted. I'm in the back and I see these people walking in barefoot, hippies. They found place. I was excited to be a part of it as an onlooker, as an extra person. Because I realized there's some things that they were experiencing that I've taken for granted. That over the years, because life has become life, the beauty and the simplicity of knowing the person of Jesus just got a little complicated. And here these people were just worshiping and excited and passionate, gathering together. I went to the beach baptism and I was brought to tears, moved that this Christ that I have known has done this. Drawing people from all over the world just on the strength of his name alone. It was fascinating. The transformation, the hunger, the expressions of relief, the satisfaction of searching for something and finally finding it. It got really crazy. I hitchhiked to a Billy Graham crusade. And I'm in the back of the room with hundreds and hundreds of thousands of people, and everybody's singing out. And I'm hearing the music, and I'm intrigued more than ever by what I was hearing. Then I saw a black man on stage. I was like, wait, what happened? And it was Andre Crouch, and he was singing out. But it was a different type of gospel music. The sound was more contemporary, and he was like a storyteller using the music to share more about Jesus. The rock bands were performing, and artists were singing, and hands were lifted everywhere. And I am a part of the purity of this moment. The atmosphere was electric, and I'm sitting enraptured. I wake up, and now I'm flooded with emotion. Because like many of you, I've been living for the past almost 2 years in a pandemic, and the rivers of living water stopped flowing in my soul. I felt like I dried up. That once passion for Jesus, that passion for souls, the passion for life just fizzled out in some ways. And the uncertainty got to me. Waking up and wondering what's going to happen today, not knowing about tomorrow. My question to God was really simple. And I said, are you up to something like this now? We're at an interesting time. There's political and social unrest. There's uncertainty. We've come out of a pandemic. We're coming out. Many of our churches have closed for the longest amount of time in our lifetime. We are experiencing all sorts of spiritual questions. And if we were honest with people, staying in the routine and going through the motions, but not really feeling connected to the work we're doing, I wondered. Many movements started like this, with this interesting backdrop of pain and difficulty, just this juxtaposition where it doesn't seem like what good can come out of this, and there we have a Jesus people movement. And now we are looking at life saying, how are we going to turn the corner? What will it look like for us? For the lights to come back on, for the blood to fill our bodies. We sang about it. It's your breath in our lungs. We pour out this praise. We talked about the dry bones being invigorated once again. What will this look like? Like the hippies, people are searching, longing for something, and becoming increasingly frustrated with the establishment. That we know we can't do exactly what we have always done, but we have to do something. Where do we go from here? I don't know if you can see this or not, but we're primed for a move. There has been a recalibration of our hearts, and we understand more fully what matters most. Being a part of something that God is doing is life-giving and refreshing, and I want to learn more about what he has done. That's how he tells us more about what he will do. But I want to be open as well to what he's doing now. And it's quite possible to hold both, to celebrate and say, God, look at all the wonderful works that you have done, and I want you to do something like that now. There's more. And there's more for us. And I don't know what it was about seeing those droves of people. I didn't know if my heart needed to feel something like that again, to be reminded of what God has done to empower me for tomorrow. But I wanted you to know he has not forgotten about the great work that he started. It's impossible to go to the 1960s and not learn anything, you know. I made a few notes. I noticed a few things. That it was really important in this movement for people to have the space to express themselves. Because these are my questions. I had this It was like the Holy Spirit was the same. I had this encounter with the Holy Spirit in this dream and woke up full of tears and emotional because of what I had experienced and thought, well, what can I do? We lead a church, thousands of people, unique opportunity in downtown Long Beach. What can I do? Give people space. If God's going to do something unique and different, and if he's going to pour out his Spirit any way he chooses, he's going to cooperate and work with people. Give them space to express themselves. I need to be aware of my own critical eye. A lot of what happened in the movement and other movements was the heightened criticism of people saying, but that's not how we should do it. This is not godly. The criticism of what God is doing, that I needed to be more aware of my own critical eye. The other thing I realized is that it's okay to pioneer, to do something first, to do something different. And if you're not the pioneer, it's okay to celebrate the pioneers. That it may not be you, but it may be somebody very much connected to you. I also realized the value of being included and connected, to belong to something bigger than ourselves. And even as a worship leader, I realized in a fresh new way the potency of music as a universal language. That I can be moved in ways that words just don't do. I can be inspired, I can learn, I can grow, I can reflect. I have all these unique opportunities when music is at play. I was even reminded of what God did when he did something new and powerful in Acts chapter 2 on the day of Pentecost. Because the Jesus movement wasn't the first. That God has been doing moves all along. And there were some interesting people, some interesting responses. There were the group that participated. And there were the critics. The critics that were saying, well, they can't do that. They're drunk. What's going on? Coming to conclusions about what they were witnessing. And there were the people who inquired, who leaned in, who said, what do these things mean? I guess in all of this discussion, what I wanted to offer was the opportunity for you to decide what side of history do you want to be on. That the Jesus People movement was radically impactful and transformational. Everything about it. I feel like I'm the daughter in some ways because my love for worship came from somewhere. My passion, how I express myself in music, had an origin for which I am deeply grateful. And yet I can't help but feel something inside that says, how are you going to make a change now? What if this moment is a snapshot? We can screenshot it, in fact, and say, I remember going to a conference, Ablaze at Biola, in October of 2021, and hearing and learning, and being open to the Holy Spirit with how he plans to do something fresh in my generation. That before the day we die, the day we close our eyes, that we can too be a part of something bigger than ourselves. What would that look like to participate? What would it look like to mother and father and nurture the group of people that will go on and do great things for God in this way? One thing the pandemic has taught me is life is short. Everything can't be pre-planned. You can't always save something for later. But the beauty of right now We have this moment right here, and we get to decide what we do with it. What is your posture before the Lord? If you even have the wherewithal to be there. You may be in your dry season, in your dry place, and saying, look, I'm recovering. I'm trying to figure out where God is right now. My prayer life is in the toilet. My worship is non-existent. This is the first thing that I have done godly in a long time. You may be there, and that's okay. But there's another group of us who find ourselves at a fork in the road, and we have some choices to make. Do we allow history to inform our faith in the future? Do we open our hearts and posture ourselves before God and say, there's something that you want to do? Has to be. I want to be a part of it. The question still remains, God, are you up to something like this now? And if you are, I want to be a part of it. Thank you.
Discover who you're called to be at Biola University, a leading Christ-centered university in Los Angeles, with programs on campus and online. Subscribe for more of our videos and learn more at biola.edu.